I need a holiday is what she said to me. I need to get away from you. And as I watched her lying next to me, I wished for a holiday too. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. I wanna be there, yeah, yeah. You traveled to so many lands to find a place to end your path.
Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Monday, February the 12th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and let me know if you've got any questions in the chat. Can take as many questions today as I can. There's been a few things people have been talking about this week. We've got new products coming out from Mackie that people have been receiving and talking about. We could talk about that today if you want. And yeah, let me know. I'll say hi before I get started here. So, Bedouin was first, even before I was. Hi, Aaron, and all in the chat. Happy Mardi Gras from Nola. Nice. Mardi Gras today. Mardi Gras. This is the time of year we get a lot of things coming up, right? We get the St. Patrick's Day and loads of holidays. Mardi Gras changes dates each year because it's connected to Easter. Okay. And I think I didn't know that. Interesting. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. We've got to learn those Irish songs, everybody. And yeah, lots of things coming up. Valentine's Day this week, St. Patrick's Day coming up, and what else is there? May the 4th. I guess that's still a ways away. All right, Prodigal Nation. I need more guitars. No, you need less guitars, Prodigal Nation. That's always the first thing to think. I need less guitars, and then if you really, really need another guitar, then you get another guitar at that point. Rosanna, thank you for moderating. Great to see you here. I just posted another video from NAMM. I've got about 3 more videos from NAMM to come, 2 or 3 more. And today's was a backstage interview with Martin Guitar. The audio wasn't great. It was severely loud when I made that video. When I did the Cole Clark one, it was pretty quiet, so I was able to really reduce the background noise. And the Martin video, it was just so crazy loud. And they had like private rooms, but they had nothing on the ceiling, so it was, all the sound was coming through there. And even then, the private rooms were, temporary constructions. They weren't made out of concrete or anything. So, but I thought it was interesting. We talked about the Inception guitar. We talked about the Robert Getzel's 2 guitars. So do check that out later. Would appreciate it. Ah, okay. Madford at Manchester's here. Big hello from Manchester, UK. Great to see you here. Patsy Smith in Suffolk, UK. Lee also moderating the blue spanner, the blue wrench. In England, it's a spanner. In America, it's a wrench. That means that they're moderating. They have the power to mute, silence, or kick people out of the chat room. So thanks for doing that. I appreciate it as always. Boom. I always want to call you BMO, but Boomer says, hi, Aaron and Chatters and mods. Cheers. Rex says, good afternoon. Just got the gym. New to me guitar arriving this week. Great. 2010 Gibson Les Paul Plus. The Les Paul is one guitar I haven't yet found the one that I'd want to own. I do have one. It's one of the more affordable options that I bought from a good friend of mine a while ago. That's one of those guitars that hasn't yet been on the channel, that will be on the channel. Probably won't stay around, but I will definitely show that. But I really, if I get a Les Paul, it's got to feel right and it's got to be lightweight. So I got to find the right one. You know, I feel like I've found a really good Strat. I've found a really good acoustic. I found a really good Telly. I found a really good 355. I think the only thing left really is the Les Paul style. So, you got to have things to work towards. I hear the Les Paul Plus is a great guitar. Michael Haney is here. When he said I need more guitars, Michael said a Haney guitar preferably. Michael, I'm glad you're here. You've just reminded me to tell everyone that we're working on some extra sessions for the channel. Every Monday is this open session where you can come and ask me questions. I get a lot of people during the week ask me for advice and messaging me on social media. I just tell everyone the same thing. Please come to the live stream so I can do all the questions in one place. Everyone can benefit from it. You can benefit from it because you might ask me what's the best acoustic amp. And I might turn around. Let me just put my notifications off 1 second. I might turn around and say something and someone in the chat might challenge me. And I think it's really good to have that challenge as well. It opens up the thoughts of more people. And I can't answer questions all day long. I need to make more videos. I was up till 6 a.m. last night editing that Martin video because I couldn't get the audio how I wanted it to be. In the end, I had used a different plugin that I've owned and not used. And I just had to accept that it wouldn't sound as crystal clear as I wanted because it was filmed at a trade show. Sometimes these things happen. Even right now, the heater's blasting next to me and the noise gate is letting through some of the hiss you might hear if you're wearing headphones. Sometimes you can't do anything about that stuff. So, yes. So, we're adding some extra sessions and they'll be in the old format, which I'm really excited about. During the lockdown, I did a lot of interviews. Chris Martin from Martin Guitar, Larry Fishman from Fishman, Lloyd Baggs from LR Baggs, Miles from Cole Clark. We had people on from several people on from Maton Guitar. So many. I can't even remember how many there were. They're all on the channel if you want to go back and watch them. And we're going to bring them back because some of the people I met at NAMM were really interesting and I want to get to know more about them and also bring them here for people to learn from. So I did put a video up with Michael. I ran into Michael from Haney Guitars and his video is up on my channel. You can go and watch that. And I said, why don't you come on here for a live stream like this during the week and take, well, first of all, first half of the show, talk about your guitars and your story, because we always like the stories of people in the industry. But then we can ask Michael questions. So if you're watching the show right now, do me a favor. I'll tell you the date that we've penciled in. And when I say penciled, I really mean penned, but, watch this space. So Michael's going to be on the 28th. It's a Wednesday, the 28th of February. I want you to think of some great questions you've always wanted to ask a guitar builder. We'll focus on electric guitar that day. So don't tell me now, just start thinking if you could ask a luthier that builds high quality electric guitars a question, what would you ask them? Because that will be your chance on that day. Okay? And thank you for the questions. I see them coming in. I will get to those shortly. But this is very important. I want this to go well, both for me and for the guests. So we've got Michael on the 28th. Please put that on your calendar. And also the week before that, we're going to have sort of the same thing again, but acoustic. And that will be with Isaac. Isaac was amazing. The way that happened at NAMM, Lloyd mentioned his name in conversation. I happened to run into him straight away, completely randomly. Lloyd happened to be over again Lloyd Baggs happened to be over again at that time, completely random. Never heard of Isaac before. And then people in the comments saying, this guy's amazing, the guitars are amazing, and people knowing who he was made me feel very ignorant. But I said to him, great, let's have you on the channel. I don't think he's done a live stream before. Let's talk about, again, how you build acoustic guitars, and people can ask you questions about how you do it. So we've got two great guests coming up. He's going to be on the 21st. So Isaac on the 21st and Michael on the 28th. So get ready for those. I'll give you more information closer to the time once we've got everything tied up. All right, so I'm very excited for that. And then maybe some more. We'll see how they go. If they go really well, maybe I'll reach out to some more people. I've thought about doing more of those live stream off-the-cuff question things where you get to ask questions to the creators, to the manufacturers. they don't often do that. And sometimes I feel like they don't want to do that. But some people have been very open about it. Like when we did that with LR Bags at NAMM, they were very open, very cool. And I said, why don't you come on, just do something really casual? So we can ask you questions like, why would I choose this pickup over this? And how's this coming along? And tell us about the pedals you make and tell us about the history of the company. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I need to look at the numbers for those 2 Wednesdays coming up. And if they're good, then I'll look into doing some more of them. But really excited to have Michael and Isaac on the channel. Acoustic guitar and electric guitar. Perfect. Flux says, hi Aaron, sorry I missed meeting you at NAMM on day 1. I didn't know you were there. I looked for you. Also, I captured my friend's Friedman Smallbox 50 head and sent you the DIs. Thank you. I haven't been playing the Quad Cortex since I got the Kemper, and I'm really on the shelf of selling it. They really kind of annoyed me at the NAMM show. Their lack of updates as a customer kind of frustrates me. I'm really on the verge of selling it. The only reason I haven't sold it, because I really like the Kemper does everything I need and more. To be honest, I've got more than enough electric pedals here than I need. And I'm not trying to be really mean to Neural. I'm sure I'll be fine whether I play their thing or not. But I just realized that NAMM has been 4 years since I first heard about that pedal. And they just don't seem to be moving very fast on it. Of course, the day I sell it, they'll bring out some massive update and I want to buy one again. So I'm not rushing out to sell it, but honestly, I haven't been playing it. And I'm just kind of seeing what happens with it. But I appreciate you sending me the DIs. Elizabeth, does acoustic need a compressor? So I'm going to come back to your question, Elizabeth. In fact, I'm going to take all the stars off here. And I'm going to come back to questions once I've been through the chat. Okay, so hang tight for me. Michael says, thank you. No problem, buddy. Thanks for agreeing to be on the channel. We appreciate it. I had some nice comments on the video that we put up of your guitars. Boomer says to Elizabeth, do you play with a pick or fingerstyle or both? That's related to the question of, do you need a compressor? I want to talk about this. It's an interesting subject I have not really spoke about before. And it actually leads into something. So I'm going to come back to your question. And also your thoughts on the new Taylor acoustic amp, the Circa. I didn't play it at NAMM. Don't have any thoughts on it. And the whole thing with acoustic amps is, I was just having this conversation the other day, actually. I said this on the Fishman acoustic amp video as well. My first thought is, get yourself, if you want to be gigging full time in venues, random venues where you don't know the size of the room or the audience numbers, try and get like a good PA system first. That's my advice. And then if you still want an acoustic amp, then look at acoustic amps. That's my advice. If you have a PA already, if this isn't for like an actual gigging performance situation, because I always come to these things with that in my mind because that's what they do, then that's another topic. I haven't tried it. I've tried some acoustic amps that I really like. I like that Fishman Micro a lot. I like the Elite Acoustics one that I had on the channel a lot. I've had a bunch, haven't I? They're all good, but what do you want from it? Again, the question I always ask people: what's it for? How many people? What are you plugging into it? What pickup are you plugging into it? Etc. 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 But no, to answer your question, I haven't played that amp yet. A lot of people were talking about it at the show. Sam, nice to meet you, Aaron. How do I properly use a reverb pedal for acoustic? Just have to be more specific. I have an Align series reverb from LR Bags. They're releasing an Anthem. Are they releasing an Anthem too? Sam, again, going to come back to your question once I get to the end of saying hello to everybody. And Elizabeth does say she plays both fingerstyle and strumming. That's helpful. Michelle, hello from the Netherlands. Good to see you. Sam has another question. I'm going to come back to that as well. Acoustic is nice. Boomer, I use both. Yep. Michael says, Sam, Stu Mac has a video on how to repair a chip. Oh, I didn't see that one yet. My advice is go to a professional. Like whenever I've tried to repair damage to a guitar, it's you know what I mean, you can cause more damage if you don't know what you're doing. There's some things that work really well. Like there's some polishers that will actually take out marks on certain finishes, but on other finishes, it will cause marks. So just be really, really careful. And sometimes there's a bit of luck involved as well, I find. But a lot of repair people say to me, if there's something that's more cosmetic, then just leave it as it is and just. I mean, I don't like that answer because I want my stuff to be perfect. That's just how I am. But I also understand that there's always that risk that you could cause more damage. But I didn't actually see the question come up. Lisa, good to see you. Yeah, it's been a long time. How you doing? What's new? Let us know. Sam, hi, Michael. Is this the title? DIY the right way to fix your guitar's lack of finish. I know. I didn't actually see your question come up, Sam. Boomer, the Circa 74 for $1,200 looks reasonable. If you're in Canada, I suggest trying a comparison standard by Trainer acoustic amps. Okay. Michelle, as of gear, ask in advance, no reply, no positive review, feedback. Ask in advance, no reply equals no positive review, feedback. I don't know what you mean. Sam, Bose S1 Pro Plus could be a good portable PA. Yeah, but you see, you got to be careful with that kind of thing because you're opening a whole can of worms. I was just reading some things today about the new Mackie showbox that's coming out, right? And people saying straight away, well, is that better than the S1 Pro Plus? Is it better than the Everse 8? Is it better than so-and-so? Just remember that, again, the same thing I always ask you to tell me when you ask me a question. What are you plugging in? Where are you playing? How many people? What kind of music are you singing? How many people playing in there? What kind of things you're expecting to hear? What kind of tones you like? These are really important because, especially when you get down to these smaller battery-powered systems, the Bose S1 Pro Plus is amazing and has amazing features like the wireless capability. Absolutely amazing. But and it's incredibly light. But therefore, I wouldn't recommend it to someone that's playing in a massive brewery. Right? I wouldn't. And then the same thing with the Yamaha Stage Pass. Is it Stage Pass? Their system is £24. So I would recommend that. But I wouldn't recommend that to someone playing in libraries. You know what I mean? So you really got to be careful. That's why my default answer at the start of the show was go out and get yourself a good quality PA system, because a good quality PA system will do any gig. You're always going to be absolutely fine. It might be a bit overkill and a bit of a hassle to carry in there, but you're always covered for anything that you do and everything below that. The problem with getting the small things is that they might not be loud enough for certain things. And so that's what you've got to be careful of. And that's why I always ask people to tell me what is the actual application of what you're going to use. Michael says, I can go through the process if you have time on the 28th. Yes. Please bring all your electric guitar related questions on the 28th because we want to have a good attendance and a good amount of questions for Michael that day. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the top and go through the questions that I went over. So Elizabeth says, does an acoustic pedal need a compressor? Well, no one needs a compressor. So first of all, what does a compressor do? Well, it compresses the sound, right? That's the easy answer. It's gonna make it. Well, it is gonna compress the sound. If you play really loud, it's gonna bring that volume down. If you play really soft, it can bring that volume up, and then you can set the parameters to do that in the way that you want it to happen based on how you play. So for example, if you set it up for light fingerstyle picking, you might also increase the makeup gain to make it louder. So it's got volume in there as well. So is it important? Is it essential? I mean, no effect is essential to any instrument. I mean, I would argue that reverb is. Some people love compressors on electric guitars. Some people love compressors on acoustic guitars. I'd say more people love compressors on electric guitars in general. That's a stereotype. But again, for certain styles of music as well, if you're playing a Strat and you're playing funk music, you tend to use a compressor. It's part of the sound. I currently don't use one on my acoustic guitar, but I'm not against using one. Some mixing boards, and again, this is why I said consider a PA system, because you get a PA system with a mixing board. Some mixing boards have compressors built in, and you can have some light compression on your vocal and your guitar and the whole mix to make it a bit more even. That's really the word I was looking for. You make the mix more even so things aren't jumping out. Sounds more like a recording. Like if you listen to recorded music, it's often quite compressed. Okay, especially when they're playing it on Spotify. They want everything to sound even and to sound the same volume. So the biggest reason why I've avoided compressors in the past is actually ease of use. So there is a new compressor that I haven't tried yet, for full transparency, but I'm probably, I may be trying it. And I really like another one of their compressors. Fishman have a one knob compressor on their Aura pedal, and I've always really loved it. And they now have the AFX version. I'm going to bring it up on the screen for you. And I've not had a chance to plug it in and hear it yet. Again, just for full transparency. But the reason I like the look of this one... here we go. Let me jump over to the desktop. So I like this one based on the simplicity. It's a mini pedal. And for a compressor, you might as well have a mini pedal. You don't need a lot of parameters. Well, no, some people do want more parameters. I'll show you a more complicated pedal in a second. But basically, this just gives you the amount of the compression and the level of the signal. That's it. So if you're new to compression and you want to try it out, I would say go for something like this. Some people might say it's not advanced enough. The reason I recommend the Fishman one is that if this is the same algorithm as on their Aura pedal, and I'll be investigating that in the future, I just love how it works on acoustic guitar. They've programmed it to work well with acoustic guitar. I've always found it to work great on acoustic guitar, and many of my colleagues and friends have as well. So I don't want to speak for people. Personally, I don't like dialing in compression. I've always loved the one knob compressor, and I've always loved how it works on the Fishman pedal. So you could check out something like this if you want to try it out. Pretty affordable too. Let's look at the Bags one. That's what I'll show you another one now with more options on it. Okay, so the Align compressor. Actually, no, that's not a good example, really. I want to find one that's got way more options on it. Yeah, so something like this, right? It gives you the actual output volume, the input volume, the dry mix. So you can blend in the original signal with the compressed signal. That can be really nice. So you still get some of the attack of the original signal, but you've also got the compressed signal, and you can blend in the amount that you want. And then you've got specific control over the ratio, or how much the attack, how fast the release, how quickly does it release the signal. You've got those abilities there. So don't be scared of this. If you watch some videos on how compressors work, it's very easy to figure it out. But I just personally, I never really, that sounds awful. I never liked that. I always liked the one knob compressors. And I think the one knob compressors especially work great on acoustic. So if you do some research on compression and you realize you really want this kind of tweakability, you can look at something like this. The HX Stomp pedal from Line 6 is great because it has a bunch of compressors, and it actually has a readout on the screen. Not on the Stomp, but on the bigger pedals and on the plugins. Some of them have the readout, so you can actually see when it's kicking in. I really like that as well, because many people will say, I've got a compressor in my signal, and it's not actually doing anything. So on those digital ones, and some of the pedals have this as well, by the way, actually will show you when it's kicking in. You should be able to hear it, but it's nice visually to see when that how and when that compressor is actually affecting the sound. I have one right now on my voice as well for the live stream, a compressor that is. But yeah, my recommendation is, to answer your question, you don't need a compressor, but if you want to try one, try something like that Fishman or similar, or the HX I really like the HX Stomp because it has all the different pedals in it. Choose one or the other, depending on your budget, depending on your needs. Try it out and see if you like what it does. You may do, you may not. Some people don't use any compression. Some people don't like compression at all in the same way that some people don't like noise gates. Some people really need compression because it helps them play better. It gives them a better feel and they can play better. So it's a very personal thing. I definitely think you should look into it. And I think the options I gave you there are what I would personally choose. All right. We just have a sip of my tea here. I bought a new mug, and I bought this one because it's huge. And it's got like 2 cups of tea in there for the live stream. I wish they did a Sandhole Sniffer one, but they only do cups and not mugs. All right, so hope that answered your question. Oh, here we go. I see Sam's question. I did star it. Sorry. The second question is, I accidentally chipped the glossy part of my acoustic guitar neck. Right. What are the proper steps to fix it without going to luthier? So if you've got a gloss finish on the back of your acoustic neck, I think that needs to be drop filled with a glue or something by a professional. I wouldn't do that yourself. I mean, you can try it yourself if you want to, but I don't want to. I'm not going to have anything to doing. I'm not going to have anything to do with telling you to try and fix that yourself. I would take that to a professional. Ideally, I'd have say it was a Martin. If it meant a lot to me, I'd have someone like Martin themselves refinish the neck. But that's just me. Yeah, that stuff does drive me crazy. I've had dings in necks and things like that, and I hate when I can feel it. I understand where you're coming from. But if it's you haven't said what the guitar is. If it's a guitar you value and it is worth a value, then take it to a professional. And remember, there's professionals and professionals. Make sure you go to someone who's recommended to you. It's very important. First question was, how do I properly use a reverb pedal for an acoustic guitar? Just to be more specific, I have an Align Series reverb pedal. Okay, Anthem 2, kind of. I've got a video on the channel. It's called the Anthem Plus. It's just got 6 dB more of output gain. And that's the version that I would like to be using myself. 100%. So, okay, we'll do the same for reverb now then. Bags, Align, reverb. The good thing with the Bags and Fishman pedals is that they are voiced for acoustic instruments. So if you are an acoustic guitarist, straight away, I think that's a good thing. Not that you can't use a reverb pedal or just any reverb pedal for acoustic. Of course you can. But often companies like Fishman and LR Bags they kind of know the kind of sound that you would want more for acoustic. And not always, not always, but I found in my experience they do suit the acoustic a little bit better. But that's purely subjective again. So how would I use this? All right, 1 second. I just need to do something here. Yes, 1 second. This is forgive me, this is for a video. It's important. So just give me 60 seconds here, I'll be done. I have 2 email addresses, so it's always confusing where emails go to. Okay. You said they do not currently have the plus. All right. All right, I'm done. Done. Sent. Okay, sorry about that. So, this reverb pedal. Right, what controls do we have? And all these pedals have different controls, different parameters. This one has volume, so overall volume of the reverb itself. The tone, so that will make it brighter or darker. The how much reverb, and the decay. Decay is how long. So I'll give you the settings I like to use. Again, this stuff is all subjective, of course. And there's an on-off button. I never turn reverb off. On electric, I might do if I'm playing certain styles, like a really choppy funk rhythm. You don't want reverb. You want that choppy sound. If you're playing, a lot of metal players don't want reverb. They want that tight, choppy sound. They don't want to get mushy, right? For acoustic, I tend to just leave reverb on all the time. I may even have 2 reverbs. I don't currently, but it'd be a nice thing to have. One reverb pedal on a low amount, so it's just there in the background, and then one reverb pedal on a higher amount for like a solo or fingerstyle where you can kick that in. Again, that's a good reason to get something like a multi-effects pedal. More complicated, more money, but more flexibility in that regard. Normally, I just want a really nice reverb in the background of everything. And the way I would do that on here is, personally, I'd probably leave tone around the middle. I might go slightly to the left. That will make it darker. And the reason you would do that is you want the reverb to sit kind of behind the acoustic. I wouldn't make it brighter. I'd probably leave it at neutral or maybe slightly darker so it doesn't interfere with the tone of the acoustic guitar cutting through the mix. Then, personally, I like to turn the decay up. That means as it fades away, it takes longer. And the amount of reverb down. Because I don't want a massive reverb sound, personally. I want to hit the chord and then it dies off over quite a long period of time, creating more of a sustain effect. And then the amount of reverb lower so it doesn't get in the way of everything else. That's what I like to do. And again, volume probably straight up. But always try these things out for yourself. Like with this pedal, start with everything straight up and hit a chord and stop and then listen to the effect as it trails off. The first question you need to ask yourself is, do I like the sound of that reverb? Because some pedals, like multi-effects pedals, have many different reverbs to choose from. Some people like that. They like the choice. Some people don't like that because there's too much choice. With something like the Align series, there's only one reverb. So you've got to like the sound of that reverb. It's very important. So put everything straight up, hit the chord, stop playing and listen. If you like the sound of that reverb, then that's you're good to go. Then you can bring the volume down if you think it's too loud. You can reduce the amount of reverb and try a longer decay, try a shorter decay. You really got to try everything. Obviously, hit that chord and then stop playing, listen as it fades away. Then try playing a song. And a really important tip for me is record it. Listen back. I record all my gigs now on my phone. I have a USB connection to the phone. I record every show that I do, and I listen back the next day, and I cringe a lot, but I learn a heck of a lot. Heck of a lot. So that's but most reverb effects I ever use, I always personally turn the reverb down quite a lot and turn the decay time up quite a lot. But that's just me, and everyone's different. All right, cool. Let's just look at since we did it before, let's also look at the Fishman AFX reverb as well, see what the difference is. So with this one, same thing, you see, level, decay time, and tone. And then you do get 3 different reverbs. I personally wouldn't use a spring on acoustic, and I tend to always use a hall or a plate, usually always a plate. And I'm guessing the Bags one is based on a plate as well, either hall or plate for sure, not a spring. I mean, it's good to have the spring. You can always use it on your electric guitar, and you might like it on acoustic, of course, but I always use a plate. Again, with this pedal, I would do longer decay time around 3 o'clock and level around 9 o'clock and tone somewhere around the middle. Same thing. All right. Very good. Very good. Good questions. I like these questions this week. They're very, they're different. I've not had these questions before. So like Michael said, there are many videos on repairing things, and I've done a lot of them, and a lot of them haven't worked for me. I just want to say that, and that's why I say be very careful. There's a lot of videos where they'll say, well, if you do this, it fixes the problem, and they even show it fixing the problem, and I've tried that myself, and it hasn't fixed the problem, and it's made it worse. So either that's me doing it wrong, or it's the fact they have a different kind of finish. There's so many different guitar finishes on guitar, and what works on one kind of finish or fretboard may not work on another. And then sometimes these things just don't work anyway. There's always a little bit of risk involved, and that's why you got to be careful. I imagine that is the video, and I do trust StewMac stuff, but again, use caution. And yeah, I won't say it again. Or let Michael tell us how to do it when he's on, and I'll have to put a disclaimer on there. Any advice Michael gives you is from Michael, not from me. No, not that I don't trust you, Michael. It's just that, yeah, it's. My luthier tells me the same thing. I'm like, can you fix that? And he's like, oh, you should just leave it. You know, you're going to get more dings in it anyway. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know. And I think the best thing is you can always have the whole neck refinished, but that's a big job, right? Bill Springer says, hi, Aaron. Been a while since I've been able to see you. Nice to catch up again. Saw some of your video from NAMM. Did you get to try the new SC28E? I did give it a quick strum. I liked what I felt. I can't hear anything at NAMM. I haven't... I did hear the Inception through a PA system. I thought sounded really good. But the thing lately, I said last week, the thing lately is all these new guitars have their new Kovar strings. The first video I should make is Martin Kovar strings versus the old, or still current, authentic acoustic strings. I should make that comparison because they are so different. And those strings will make all guitars feel and sound so different. So the first video I should probably make is comparing those strings, to be honest with you. I like the idea of the SCs. I was told they're still making them, although I just saw that a guy did receive one this week. Definitely something I want to check out. Comes with the Anthem or with the Fishman Electronics. I didn't love the custom shop version, and that worries me. I felt like the neck was too thin. I don't know if I felt the same way about this one at the show when I did play it briefly. But it also has 12 gauge strings on it. Yeah, I really think you got to get your hands on these things. And also, I always say all guitars are different, right? I had two Fenders last year where the necks were completely different. It's the same model. It was ridiculous. So, you know, if you want a Martin stage guitar, you want that cutaway, you want that adjustable neck, it's definitely got to be worth looking into. And finally, a version that's made in Nazareth that's not $8,000. So yeah, I think that's probably something that people were not really talking about after the show because Inception got all the marketing really. I actually think they should have waited to release the Inception in the summer and just had these at the show or vice versa. But definitely worth checking out, and I will try to check one out at some point. But as you can see, they're not actually shipping from Sweetwater yet. So probably a few more months till we see them anywhere regular. All right. Rex, did you learn anything about Voice Live 3 or alternatives at NAMM? Yes, I did. The Voice Live 3 Extreme should be back in stock around May. But don't hold me to that. It's just what I've heard. It is coming back into stock. They're working on it. And it should be around May. Otherwise, there was the new Spark Live that has some vocal effects, but no harmonies. There's the new vocal pedal from Boss, but no guitar-driven harmonies. So, I will tell you, I had many conversations about this with many people and some pretty important people, but there's nothing. I can tell you this: there's nothing on the near horizon that I know about that's coming out, and I still absolutely love the Voice Live 3 Extreme. And I offered to TC, so TC Electronic are now handling TC Helicon. I said to them, when that's ready to launch, I'll be happy to work with you on a relaunch because I love that pedal, and I still love that pedal. And I don't care how old it is. It's still, for me, the best pedal. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. A new version would be could be even better. Of course, it also could be worse. But I just think that is such an underrated pedal that could use some more education. I don't think people really know how to. People are scared of that pedal. It's not that hard to use. So that was my offer to them. So I really want that to happen because there's a product that I use professionally, every night, all the time. I love it, and I would love to do that. And of course, the day there's an alternative, I'll talk about it. But that's just not happening anytime soon, and it's incredibly frustrating. So I've got a lot of people that got pre-orders in on Sweetwater for the Voice Live 3 Extreme. And I really hope that someone asks me to work on that with them, either Sweetwater or TC. Let me just show people what we're talking about here. I'm sure you probably know from a previous video. But yeah, Voice Live 3 Extreme. It's light, it's flexible, it does guitar and voice. It's got a great looper. It has a separate mix for in-ears if you want. It works as a mixer. You can record the gig. It can send and receive MIDI, not advanced MIDI, but I send MIDI clock to mine that gives me a click, and I also record the gig to my phone. I would love it. Talking about products that I want to work with. I would love to do a whole new series on this, as if it's a new pedal. Like imagine imagine best case scenario for me is in May. This is back in stock at Sweetwater and Thomann and Andertons, whatever. And I can basically say, right, let's go through the Voice Live 3. Let's pretend it's a brand new pedal. Let's just start from scratch. And I'll show you how I use it. I'll show you how you can use it. I'll take questions on it. I think if you do the solo musician thing, this is the only way to go. And that's just my opinion. I feel very, very strongly about that, as you can probably tell. But I really, really want this to come back into stock. And I really, really want to... if there's one product that I'd like to actually work with someone on, it's this. Because I know it inside out. It amazes me every night, and it makes my life better. And if you want to pre-order one, then you should do it. Because I know they've got a ton of pre-orders in there already. And I think the price may have gone up slightly. I still think that's a great value for what you get. Electric side is okay. It's not the best, but if you do acoustic and you sing, and you want to fill out the sound with delays. Again, we spoke earlier about compressors, and we spoke about reverbs. This has those. I'm not going to say that they're as good as the latest pedals on the market. I don't feel that they are. I certainly think they're good enough. And as an all-in-one package for the acoustic musician that loops and sings, I don't think you can find anything on the market any better. So we'll see. Keep your eyes open for that. The minute I hear anything, I'll probably be talking about that. So we'll see. All right, Randy's in Southern Illinois. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Elizabeth says thank you. Yeah, again, if you ask me a question, try and be as specific about all if you can tell me the guitar you're playing, the style you're playing, what you plug it into. All that stuff really helps. That's why I tell people to come here on the live stream, because someone will send me a message and say, what compressor should I buy? And I say, well, first of all, I haven't got time to tell you, come on a Monday. But also when you come on a Monday, tell me what the guitar is, what the application is, what kind of music you're playing, etc., etc., etc. Because you need the context of this stuff, right? So and also now I've told you the answer, or my answer, Elizabeth, if you now got a follow-up to what I said, feel free to put it in there as well. Walrus Audio has a full feature compressor called the Mira. Okay, let's see. I haven't tried that one. $100. Oh, it's on sale. Wow. $176 price drop. I haven't seen something like that. Does that mean there's a new version coming out or what? I don't know. That's quite the drop. So same thing again. You've got this one has even more options. So this also has the blend. I do think a blend is nice. Nice to have. And with acoustic, it's nice because you get that, you can have the original signal of that pure acoustic tone and then just add in that compressed signal. You've got the attack and the release again. Makeup, that's the gain. So often when you compress something, it drops in volume. So what you do with the makeup gain is you bring it back up. And the way you test that is you turn it off. And basically, you play with your new compressed sound, you turn the pedal off, and then you hear the original sound because it's off. And then when you turn it back on again, you bring that level so it's the same whether you're on or off. Then level, you can always bring that up if you want to be louder. But makeup gain is to set it so it's the same thing. So you got threshold, ratio, attack, and release, and then blend, makeup, and level. So yeah, looks good. I haven't tried it, but that's a great deal. Looks like getting some in stock soon. It was 280 and now it's 104. So I don't know. Oh, and sidechain high pass filter as well. Not quite sure what that button does. High pass filter would mean taking off the low end. Sidechain would mean running like a sidechain mode. But why is it saying both when it does both things at one time? I'd have to read the manual for that. But yeah, I mean that's a great deal. So thanks for bringing that one up, Boomer. There's a million compressors on the market, and I mean I'm sure other people will give us recommendations as well. Randy likes a compressor with the blend. Yeah, many people do. That's one of those things that I always blend the original signal back in and then often take it out again. But I like having it as an option for sure. Exotic, yes. Very famous. I'm going to say it though, again, like the single knob compressor on the Aura, because we're talking about acoustic in that context. The single knob compressor on the Aura Spectrum pedal, I just loved that. I loved it because you just turned it up to where it sounded better and you left it. And I haven't yet compared that to the new AFX pedal to see if it's the same algorithm. I have no reason to believe that it's not, but I do need to compare it before I recommend it. But if it is the same algorithm, then that would be the one I would recommend to any acoustic player straight away. Sam says, I agree. It's a Martin 000 Brook. Yeah, the Brook Lidgertwood. That's a nice guitar. Yeah, I would take it to an authorized Martin service center. In my experience, that doesn't always mean they'll do a good job. Unfortunately, I've had some bad experiences with that, but at least I feel you could then go to Martin and they should be willing to back you up. If it's really noticeable and bugging you, it won't be covered under warranty, but I would, if it was me, I would send it to Martin. If you live near Martin, that is. I live near Martin, so I would personally, if it was me and I'm keeping that guitar as a keeper and it really bothered me, I would take that guitar to Martin and ask what they would charge to fix it at the factory. But that's just me. If you're out in California and that's not an option, I would go to an authorized service center where you've heard from your friends that it's a good place to go. Personally. Aries, the Aura box is still amazing. 20 years technology. Crazy. Yep, the Aura Spectrum is still a great pedal. And you know what? I don't know if many people know this. John Mayer's tone used to be very much just the raw piezo undersaddle matrix pickup. On his current acoustic tour, it's vastly improved, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions. He's using Aura Spectrum pedals. And I said to Fishman, okay, great. I assume he sent you all 20 of the guitars that he's using on tour, and you made custom images of each guitar. And they told me at the time, no, we sent him some pedals. I don't know if he bought them or not, but he got the Aura pedals, and he's using stock images. I said to them, you should make a video about that because that would sell 1 million more Aura pedals. But just to show you some context of that on the screen as well. Yes, I know I show Sweetwater. I have affiliate links with them, and I like them. I buy my stuff from them as well. And please do me a favor. I pinned in the chat my Sweetwater link. It's right at the top there. Please do click on it. It helps me out. It won't charge you anything unless you buy something. And even then, when you buy something, it doesn't charge you. It just gives me a kickback at no cost to you. Right. This is what I'm talking about. This one knob compressor. So you've got your low, mid, high EQ, the blend of the IR that you choose, and then this compressor. I always loved this compressor. And when Larry Fishman was on for an interview a few years ago during the lockdown, I remember I said to him, like, I always loved that compressor. And then they now have that compressor by itself in a mini pedal. Not saying because I said I loved it. I think they were working on those pedals at the time, but that was a very good move, in my opinion, if it is the same compressor, a very good move to put that compressor in a mini pedal, because I love that compressor. And yeah, that Fishman Aura pedal was way ahead of its time. I think that compressor is also in some of their other pedals as well, so do check those out. Aries, yeah, I definitely agree. The thing about that pedal is you gotta match it with the right pickup. You gotta find the matching image. It doesn't always work out, but when it does, it's great. And the fact that they added the compressor, the EQ, the blend, the tuner, the anti-feedback, it's a DI. You know, I still think that's great value for money. At $429. I mean, a good compressor is, well, the mini compressor is 110. So there you go, straight away you can knock that off the $429. You've also got the Aura images, the EQ, and the tuner, the anti-feedback, and the DI. So I think that's a great pedal. Kevin says, got the Anthem in my Taylor 714. Nice. Been playing around with mic volume and bridge pickup blend. Yes, there's two things you got to handle with that. And as very misunderstood by a lot of people, unfortunately. The gain that you could adjust with the yellow tool, the stick tool they give you, is to set it for the PA system. So you plug it into the PA system, put the blend to as much microphone as possible, put the volume on maximum, and play while you turn that. Usually it's around the middle, but you got to find the place where it works well with your PA system and sounds like the guitar. If it's a bit on the dull side and you want a brighter sound, you can go a bit brighter, but you shouldn't be going too extreme with it. Then the blend on the Anthem is where you actually set the blend, either no microphone and it's all element under saddle, or the mic is handling the high frequencies. The element will always handle the low frequencies, all right? That's so you don't get feedback. The way I do it, I've got the mic around 50% on the trim, maybe slightly above, and it depends on the guitar. You know, you don't know. They have to put that in there because they don't know if your guitar is loud, quiet, bright, dull, and what your PA system is. So that's why they have it. And then the blend, that's a very personal thing. I would just strum a chord while turning that. I usually leave the blend at 100%. I like that microphone sound at the top. Many people use it at 50%. Some use it around 75%. I've got a friend that uses it on 0, and I don't understand why he doesn't just get an element in the guitar. But there we go. Options are a great thing. I use the Bag Session compressor for acoustic. Haven't found one for electric I like. Now, it's interesting you say that. I tried that. I actually have one, and I wasn't sure how to make a video about it. It's been in my closet for a while because it's such a subtle effect. But I tried it at NAMM when I was at the Bags booth. And again, it is a subtle effect, but I really missed it when I turned it off. And for acoustic, that's a big deal. So there's two Align pedals. We have this one on the left and this one on the right. The one I have is this one on the right. This is more expensive, but it's a DI. And it's got something called Comp EQ and Saturate. So it's a bit different to the other compressors. It compresses certain frequencies, and the Saturate gives you that sort of saturated, overdriven sound. Not like a distortion pedal. It warms it up like a tape would, like an analog tape would. At first listen, when you audition this thing, you think, well, it's not doing anything. But if you play it for a while and then mute it, or turn the effect off, you really miss it. So this could be another option as well, actually, for Elizabeth. If you want something purely acoustic and you need a DI, consider this. But I would still use this alongside other pedals. I mean, there's no reverb in here. I wish Bags would make a multi-effects acoustic pedal with this, reverb, delays. That could be a really nice thing. But yeah, it's a bit different to your standard compressor, but it really is an interesting effect. But if you're looking for a traditional compressor, I don't know if I'd recommend this one, but I would add it to the list as well, because you might not want compression, but you might want that saturated analog type tone, and it does compress certain frequencies. Some people might want both as well, but this one also has a notch. If you have problems with feedback, you can notch it out. This would be a great addition to a hi-fi pickup because I found I needed phase and notch with that, and it also would warm up the tone. So yeah, interesting pedal. You really got to try it to understand what it does, and you really got to play it and then turn it off to understand what it's doing. But that's a nice option. So thanks for bringing that one to our attention. That was William. Randy, compression can help to add a tube-like character to brittle digital signals. Right, that's what that session DI does for sure. There's actually one version of the Element pickup where it has that built into the circuit, and that not many people know about. Hey, all, hit the thumbs up. It helps Aaron. Looks like we're all involved. Just a thought. Yes, please do. If you're having a good time here today, in fact, let me just do this now. This is my advertising part of this program because I'm out advertising myself. If you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. The more subscribers and views I have, the better for the future for my channel. If you're enjoying the live stream, you can hit the like button. That looks good to YouTube. If you're in the USA, you can click on my link to Sweetwater before you buy something. And I also have links, similar links to Reverb and Thomann, but Sweetwater is my main one. Even if you're not in the USA, if you click that link to Sweetwater, all that interaction. You're exactly right, Bedoin. It's the interaction that's so important, and that goes with everything. Like I said this last week. I touched on this. If you have 1 million subscribers and 1 million views per video, then you can basically approach anyone in a business fashion and say, look, I want to work with you because you have those sort of numbers. Same with Sweetwater. They track, they can see what people are searching for. They can see who's driving traffic their way. And if you're driving traffic to them, it makes sense for them to then partner with you and work with you. So that's really what this is all about. Without getting too businessy about it all, because I don't want this to be a business-like experience. I want it to be someone who likes gear, talking to people that like gear, and offering my advice and experience that I have. But I also, as I said last week, I do need to grow the channel in order to keep doing this, especially if I'm going to be doing additional interviews, additional live streams, additional videos and things like that, and going to NAMM again next year. I do need to take all this seriously. So all that stuff just really helps. So yes, if you can share my channel with a friend, if you can subscribe and ring the bell. I checked the stats today. It said that, 80% of viewers are not subscribed or something like that. So if you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to my videos. And please watch them. I posted one today, behind the scenes with 2 high-ups at Martin Guitar. Hasn't done that well so far. So do me a favor tonight. If you've got nothing to do, watch that video for me and send it to a friend. It's just, numbers are important. Right? And that's just the way it is. It's the same with everything. So if you write a great song and no one listens to it, right? If you book to play at a gig and no one goes, they're not going to hire you again. It doesn't matter how good you are. And it doesn't matter if you care about that stuff or not. It's just the reality of the situation. Sam says, what is a plate reverb? Thank you for listening to that, because I do have to say that in my videos. Sometimes I forget to say it. Plate is basically emulating the old plate reverb. So in that pedal we just looked at, the spring is like the spring tank in a Fender amp. The hall is like you're in a hall. Imagine you're in a hall and you hit the chord and stop playing, you hear that reverberation. A plate is an old plate reverb. Let's see if I can find a picture for you. I sometimes say to people, people that are now like 18 and learning the guitar won't know what a tape machine is. They won't know what tape saturation is. They won't know what a plate reverb is. Even a spring, right? A spring tank. They won't know what it is. And why do they still use those names? But they do still use those names. So here's a picture of a plate reverb. Here. So that's it. So that's the problem we have now with gear. A lot of the names we refer to are referencing older products, because gear people love the old stuff, right? People love the Fender Strat and the Gibson Les Paul and the plate reverb and the spring reverb. And I think it can be problematic because if you're born today and learning guitar in the next 10 years, you're not going to know what these things are. It's like calling the keyboard on your Mac a typewriter, right? Or Charles going to say, what's a typewriter? Why not just call it an input device? But a lot of us like the old gear and we want to feel like we're interacting with the old gear. It's why the Fender Toemaster Pro has the knobs that look like you're turning the knob on a real amp. And then someone like Neural has the sliders. They've gone for the modern input way. So it's good to learn what the old stuff is because companies continue to refer to the old stuff. So this says, as you can see in the picture, it's literally a plate of metal suspended in a case and kept in a state of tautness by springs. They attach a transducer to the plate, similar to the driver in your headphones, and then pump music through the so they would literally play the put a transducer on it, play the instrument through it or the recording through it, and then use that reverb. Crazy. So what we've got now in these pedals is our digital emulations. It is good to go back and see what the original things were, though, because everything is a digital emulation. Sometimes I think they should change the name to something else, like lush reverb, short reverb, bouncy reverb, something like that. You're welcome. Yeah, plate is a type of reverb, like spring and tape. Do you prefer the PAs over bags over Fishman? So you're saying, do I prefer like the Fishman Matrix to the LR Baggs Element? Well, that's a loaded question because I'll try and answer it as quick as I can. This is a big topic. The Fishman Matrix style pickup is kind of firmer, and people say, well, that's good because it interferes with the saddle less and the responsiveness of your instrument. I refuse to accept that, but in my experience, it has been the case in some guitars. But is that me? I don't know. Could be psychological. The problem with those kind of pickups, like the Fishman one, is that the cable connects at much of a right angle. Very easy to break that cable. The Element is soft, and the whole thing is the pickup, so you can't really break it. But then that goes way deeper. Like the end of the Element is not active, so you have to make sure the high E is loud enough, and sometimes you have to drill into an extension hole to put that in to make sure all the strings are triggered the same volume. The Matrix doesn't have that problem. So it's really swings and roundabouts. Also, like I always say to people, what are you using it with? Well, if you're using the Fishman Aura pedal that you yourself mentioned earlier, you want to probably use, you don't have to, but you should probably use a Matrix because that's the kind of pickup they made the Aura images with. So I would recommend you have that pickup for that reason. Then there's personal preference. Some people say the Element sounds better, fatter, warmer than the Matrix. I like the Matrix because it has a very high output level and it's very clean sounding. The Element isn't as loud as that, and that's why if you try to put a Fishman Matrix into a Baggs Anthem, which I did in the video, I replaced the Element with the Matrix pickup, it distorted because the Matrix has a higher output than the Element. So you see what I mean? Which do I prefer? Based on all that, I'll say the Matrix, but it's not perfect. There's things about the Element that I also like. Like I said, it's more robust. It tends to pick up more of the body sound of the guitar, depending on what the material of the guitar is. But it really, like every other question I get on here, it depends what guitar it's going into, how you're going to use it. And I want to add this in as well. You know, some people have said to me in the past, well, the Element can deaden the top of an acoustic. So if you really believe that, fine. But I've played several guitars last year without pickups that I had to return because they had these frequencies that are jumping out. And I wondered to myself, I wonder if I had the Element in there, if that may have actually improved the guitar. So for the both of those reasons, I don't really have a preference, and it really depends what you're using it with. You see, I would say the Fishman, but I personally would not use either of them. I would probably go for the Anthem, and if I'm going for the Anthem, then I'm going to use the Element because it's what comes with is what is designed to work with the Anthem. So even though I kind of prefer the Matrix as a standalone undersaddle pickup, I would never use that live. I would use an Anthem, or I would just not put anything in the guitar and use a Maton, a Cole Clark, or similar. So I enjoyed answering that question because to answer a question like that, I'm using years of research and years of trying different pickups to come to that conclusion, right? And I love talking about that because 10 years ago, I never would have had that answer. I would have just said, oh, I like Fishman, or, oh, someone said that the Element sounds better. I have the Element. No, there's a million little things to drop in there about those two systems. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoy talking about acoustic guitar pickups, but I really enjoyed that question. So thank you. All right, let's have some tea, and I'll come back. Paul is not in Ohio. Thanks for being here, Paul. All right. So some questions about preamps. Gary's got one here. Gary's got a Bix preamp. Well, Gary can chime in on this then. Because Sam asks, if you have time, could you explain how a preamp works? I'm currently comparing the Grace Bix. Okay, great, because Gary just got that. To the Venue DI. I'm leaning more towards the Bix for its simplicity. Yeah, let's talk about this, because this kind of goes along with what I was just saying about acoustic guitar pickups, right? It's basically going to be the same thing. So first thing I'm going to do is bring these up on the screen so we can all compare them together. So I haven't tried the Grace Design products much. I briefly tried their $1,000 preamp. And the funny thing is about a preamp is that the reason you would spend $1,000 on a preamp is that you don't hear anything, right? That sounds ridiculous. But the reason you would spend $1,000 on the preamp is that it's what they call transparent, especially for an acoustic guitar or for a recording studio. Unless you want like it to affect the sound, like the Bags session that I showed you earlier. This is a great stream, by the way, because everything's just like running off each other. I love it. This is the best kind of live stream when everything kind of like bleeds. Maybe gear does kind of bleed together. I don't know, but yeah, if you want something like the Aura or a Tone Dexter where you're deliberately completely changing the sound, right? Then obviously that's not transparent. The reason you buy something like the Bix pedal is that you want a transparent sound. You just want it to sound like not add or take away from the sound, and that's why you want extremely high quality components. Maybe slightly improve the sound, but you certainly don't want any noise or tone loss or anything like that, and that's why you spend that kind of money. And then the Venue DI was the other one. Okay. But you pay a lot of money for that luxury, and I never really got the point of it. I could never. I'm pretty fussy with gear, but I couldn't ever hear $1,000 preamp personally. Now, there's another thing to consider here. Your guitar most likely already has a preamp. Not necessarily, but if your guitar has a battery in it, you already have a preamp. So if you have a Matrix, an Element, an Anthem, a Cole Clark, a Maton, a Takamine, a Taylor, anything like that, you've already got a preamp. Now, it won't be the best preamp in the world because it's small, right? It's using micro components because it lives within your guitar. But you do have a preamp, and you're then running that preamp into another preamp. For me, the point of getting something like the Grace Design would be if I had a passive pickup. Because if you have a passive pickup in your acoustic guitar, then you don't have a preamp. So you would want to feed that. And in fact, you kind of need a preamp at that point because you haven't got one, right? So at that point, I'd be more inclined to get something like this and drop the money. This isn't $1,000. they have a more expensive preamp that's $1,000. But this one, for a fairly simple pedal, is 355, right? You've got gain, low, high. There's no mid on the top here, and a boost. Okay, so that's the first question I would ask myself. If I had something like an Anthem, I probably wouldn't run it into this. If I had something like a K&K, I would run it into this. But then there's so many other things to think about now as well. Like, what are you then plugging this into? Because if you have a mixing board with a really good preamps in it, that's preamps as well. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do this, but just bear in mind, if you have an Anthem that goes into the Bix, so you've got a preamp in your Anthem in the guitar, then you go into the Bix, there's a preamp in there, and then you go into your console and there's high quality preamps in there. You're going into 3 preamps. Now that's not good, or that's not a good or bad thing. It's not like the more preamps you go into, the worse it is or the better it is. For me, then it's just not that necessary. It's more about what tone shaping options they provide me. So the Anthem, for example, doesn't give me many options. It gives me the blend and the volume. So something like this pedal then would be more about tone shaping. Like I can use the EQ. Now this doesn't have a lot of EQ. It does have a boost, which is nice. But this doesn't have a lot of EQ. I'd rather have something with more EQ in it. Although, if you're then going into a digital mixing board that has EQ in it, that's fine. So a lot of this is just what combination works for you and what do you like. But I do think it's important to explain the reasons why you would have these different things, just so you can factor that into the equation. All right, it's quite possible that if you have a really great PA mixing board that you don't need any of this stuff, but you might want this for the mute button and the boost button. So likewise with the Venue, it's giving you more options. It's giving you the boost, it's giving you the mute and a tuner. A lot of people say they don't like this tuner. I think it's fine, but I think it's better if you use the harmonic to tune or something. But anyway, it does give you bass, low mid, high mid, presence, treble, a notch, and you can tune what frequency the notch is at. The notch is to take out that single feedback frequency without affecting the rest of your tone, and you can tune what the mid is at, the frequency is at, and a gain. So this is giving you a lot more control over your sound. You could go even further and get something like the HX Stomp. That's also a preamp, right? But it's digital and it has a lot of other stuff in there to really shape your tone. So there's 2 ways to look at these preamps. They are preamps and they're also tone shaping devices. And it really depends on what you're plugging into it, and it really depends on what you want to get out of it. Because then you've got something like the Tone Dexter, which is making that's a DI too, but it's applying an IR to your signal and giving you the different the tuner and the EQ options and the boost as well. They're just all different flavors of the same thing, and it all comes down to what you need and what you want from it. So personally, I would probably lean towards this if I had something like the Hi-Fi, because I would want the notch control. I found with the Hi-Fi I needed the notch and the phase, and this has the notch and the phase. So do many other pedals, but this one has it. The Bix doesn't have it, but it's a high quality small pedal, and if you have a pedal board and you have another pedal that has notch and phase, then you can use the notch and phase on that pedal. So it doesn't matter anymore, and maybe you just like the look or the sound of this pedal. That's fine too. So I hope that answers the question. These questions are, they're just not easy to answer. They have so many things to consider, not just what are you plugging into them, but what do you want to get out of them, and then what do you need to get out. You might not even know right now that you need a notch filter. You might not even know that yet until you get on stage and then think, oh, okay, I need a notch filter and I don't have one, and this is a problem. Okay. So I hope that answers the question. Let's come back here. Rusty, just got a 0015M. How do you think a Baggs Hi-Fi would work in it playing through an S1 Pro? Well, to tie that into what I've just said, the Hi-Fi has a preamp with it, so that's great. the only problem I would have with that is that I had feedback in 2 guitars with the hi-fi, and you've got no way there to notch out that frequency. Now, I know some people don't have feedback with it, so some of this depends on how loud you play and where you put the speaker. So you might be okay. If you're asking what I would do, I would probably need to add a pedal in the line there. I need to add something with a notch on it. So, but again, it depends. You haven't told me where you're playing, what you're playing, when you're playing. The rig you've got there, if I took out to like a noisy bar, I mean, first of all, the S1 Pro may not be loud enough. And then second of all, if I did get it really loud, for me, it would probably feedback in my experience. I would need some kind of notch control. I would add, but personally, I'd add something like a TC Play Acoustic anyway, because I always take that pedal with me, or the Voice Live 3 Extreme. They both have notch controls, and so I wouldn't have a problem. Let me just show you what I mean. Yeah, so if it was me, I'd be fine, because I would have your hi-fi pickup in there. I'd run it into Play Acoustic. I'd use the notch and the phase on the Play Acoustic, which is also basically working as a preamp as well. I'd run that into the Bose. All right. But then you could also use a different power speaker that has a notch control, and then you wouldn't need the Play Acoustic. You see, again, it's all the parts of the chain, but also maybe the volumes you're playing at and the way you play means you don't need a notch control, but I found that I did. So yes, what you're saying is good, but I would add something else. Or we also, and this is just endless, because we also spoke earlier about the Baggs session pedal, which has a notch, a phase, and that really nice saturation. I need to make a video on this at some point, because they did send me one to review. This one here. So you could add this in line, and then you've got your notch, your phase, and some saturation on the hi-fi, which would be a nice addition to the hi-fi. I haven't tried that, but whenever I've tried, no, actually I did try it at NAMM, and it did sound better. So yes, I do recommend that. So I would, you know what I would do to save you money? I'd install the hi-fi, try it with the Bose at the first gig. If you get feedback, then I'd add this pedal to fix the problem. Yeah, don't buy stuff in case you need it. Buy stuff because you need it, right? Okay. Yes, this is great. Lots of talk about preamps today. I like that. So Gary just got a Grace Design Bix, the one we just showed. I like the clean boost with soft press foot switch. I'm running all effects and looper through the effects loop. So there you go. He likes the pedal because he likes the foot switches, he likes the effects loop, and he's running his other pedals through the effects loop. So that works well for him. That makes a lot of sense. Like I said, it's not just the sound or the features or the price, it's also the whole package. How does that fit in with the other stuff that you already own? So for Gary, he's got a bunch of other pedals he can run in the effects loop. Some DIs don't have an effects loop, and he likes the way the buttons feel, which is really important as well, because you're pressing on that button a lot. You want it to feel good and be high quality foot switches. I get that. Elizabeth is running a Martin Grunspec custom shop 12 fret Sinker mahogany with K&K under saddle pickup. So they see it's very important to know that you've got the K&K in there. But your question wasn't about I'm so confused now. Your question wasn't about preamps. Your question was about compression and reverb. So it doesn't matter quite as much. If you were talking to me about preamps, again, I'd be with the K&K. I'd probably recommend the K&K preamps because they work well with the K&Ks. But I would also, I mean, anything with good EQ would work well with that too. I really like the Baggs voice print DI with the K&K because I made an IR for it and I really EQ'd a lot, and I got a very good sound. But it was a lot of work, but it worked. Jason Isbell tones amazing with Aura. Yes, he uses the Aura pedal, but don't forget he also has a professional sound engineer and PA system that he runs that into, as does John Mayer. Sam said it's just a very small ding on top of the headstock. chip line, I would use a wood repair marker to touch it up. It bothers me because I only bought the guitar a week ago. Okay, so you don't feel it. The worst thing for me is when you feel feel something on the neck. So, okay, it sounds like that could be filled and smoothed over. I would definitely get a professional's opinion based on the experiences that I've had trying to repair stuff in the past. Now, I'm not the best person to ask because I don't do that. But let's just say, some things have been very successful for me, and some things have been kind of disastrous. So, just use caution. But I'm glad it's not on the back of the neck; it's on the headstock. And also remember, I know it's kind of annoying when people say this, but it's true. The problem is you've got a brand new guitar, and it is going to get dinged. Like the Martin Finish scratches really easily, and if you love it and you play it and it's not a collector's piece, it will get dinged. So maybe just put it down to you've got the first ding and now you can play it. I know when people say that it's kind of patronizing, but there is some truth to it. There we go. Welcome to the club, says Boomer. Yeah, it's true. Unless it's like a $20,000 collector's guitar that you were going to put into a case, it is true. Guitars do get marks on them, and you're going to get one eventually. It's just try to avoid getting them on the neck so you don't feel it while you're playing. And even then, some people don't care. Some people are okay with the necks being beaten up. They just don't care. We're all different like that. Chris has that pedal too. There's two sessions. There's the DI one I just showed you, and there's the Align version, which is cheaper. Gary says, I have the Align session. Okay, it seems to make my sound a bit richer. Too much saturate can make things woofy or feedback prone. Yes. With that pedal, it seems you want to use a little bit, almost so you can't tell it's even there until you turn it off and then you miss it. That's seems to be the way you set that pedal up. Do you use the Bose S1 Pro? I'm thinking about buying one today with the wireless attachments. I use it, but I don't use it for every gig because actually Gary was talking about this last night. I saw his post somewhere. Just remember that the Bose S1 Pro Plus is it's £14, so it's light. It's 150 watts, which is decent, and it's a 6-inch speaker. But although it's got a lot of low end, but just remember that you're not going to take that to a hall and play a wedding with it. All right, you're not. It's going to be, at that point, a monitor, a satellite speaker, an additional speaker. So I'm not saying you are thinking that, but just bear that in mind going into it. All right. Yes, it's a PA, but it's if anything, you want two of them. And again, like I keep saying about everything, it drives me crazy, but it's just the truth. There's applications for all of this stuff. So the best gigs I've done recently with the Bose S1 Pro Plus is where I don't want to see anything on stage. Let's say I did a couple of gigs recently, like hotel lobbies, and it doesn't really matter if people see the gear and the mess. Sometimes you'll get a venue where they do care about that stuff and they can get really weird about it. But if you're playing, for example, like I did, a hotel lobby, and you have the Bose S1 Pro Plus on the floor, tilted back, the wireless system in the mic and the guitar, and it's all charged up and ready to go, it looks incredible because the audience don't see anything. They just see you and a guitar and a mic stand. It looks so clean, and I really value that. Now, of course, the minute you need more volume and stuff like that and more pedals, you're going to start having more cables and more speakers. That kind of goes out the window in a way. But yeah, if someone told me they were playing wedding receptions in nice venues where people listen and there's not a lot of background noise, I would recommend the Bose S1 Pro Plus in a heartbeat. For me, that's the best thing for that job. Anyone that tells me they're playing in the bar, loud crowd, singing along, I'm like, at that point, just get a full PA system. Cover yourself, or ideally get the full PA system so you can do any room with that system or lower, and then save up and get the Bose S1 Pro Plus for those smaller rooms where that's overkill, or to use as an additional speaker. For me, that's the ideal. So again, like I always say, I'm going to say it every time, I need to know more about what you expect to get from it. But that's not a knock on the Bose, because someone might say to me, well, I'm taking the train and I need something that is 15 pounds or lighter. Okay. Bose S1 Pro Plus. That's the only option. That's it. But anyone that says to me, I've got a car and I'm playing at country clubs, I'm playing at weddings, big venues, halls, I've got a band with me, just get a PA system, all right? Or be prepared to buy several battery-powered speakers for that in that regard. So again, just need to know what you're expecting from it. Sam subscribed. What? No, I don't think you did, because I didn't get the... When people subscribe, I get the thing pop up on my screen. To make sure you did it right. Sam, make sure you didn't unsubscribe, okay? I imagine everyone just hit the subscribe button and unsubscribe from the channel. Now, I could be wrong. Sometimes that thing doesn't work, but I generally have a thing that pops up when someone subscribes. But sometimes that's like a web service and it's not working. All right, have you tried the Grace Design Alex? I tried the $1,000 one, but I literally plugged into it, wasn't blown away, and never played it again. I haven't spent any time with it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That simply means it's a transparent device, and that's actually, people spend thousands of dollars on transparent devices, so that's fine. But it's not what I was looking for at the time. I was looking for something to actually color the sound and change the sound. Randy says a huge piece of suspended metal. That's right. Rex, we used a real plate reverb on my first album 20 years ago. Enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean, there's not, like they say, there's nothing like the sound of real tubes and real spring reverbs and real this and real that. But the algorithms have gotten very good. And I'm certainly not going to go and find a plate reverb for my next album. That was a very good answer. Thank you, Aries. What's a good mic? Well, I like the Neumanns, but a lot of people tell me that they don't like them. So again, very, very, very subjective. I have a pair of matched KM184s, and I really like them, and they're expensive, so I'm not in a rush to go out and find something else. And you have to remember as well, I don't tend to use the stereo pair, although the stereo pairs do sound great. I just use one. I'd recommend buying one and just adding another one later if you need it. But with a lot of my demos that I don't do any EQ, and no one records an acoustic guitar. No one records in the studio and doesn't EQ the signal. That's crazy. I don't do it because I want the recordings to show as closely as possible what I'm hearing. But there's arguments for both. And certainly, if you buy one of these and then EQ it as you should, it will sound really good. And actually, another potential guest on the channel is going to be a producer to tell us how to do this. So I'll do a video on my channel recording some guitar and voice, and then he'll do a video on his channel showing how to mix it. So that might be coming too, depending on how well the next 2 weeks go on the Wednesdays. But I also absolutely adore my handheld recorder that I used at NAMM, the Porta Capture. I'd recommend that. Honestly, I compared this, and there's a cheaper one now, the X6, $300. I've got the X8, $400. I've compared this to a big Neumann, like $4,000 Neumann, and I thought this sounded as good. And this is a portable handheld multi-track recorder. So consider getting one of these. Maybe not for studio recording, but for like recording at home, recording ideas, recording in the field. I would get this. And then if you're actually recording, I mean, first of all, there's other things. You want to make sure the room sounds good, is treated. You've got a good preamp for the mic, a good interface at least, and other factors. It's not just about the microphone. It's about all the other stuff. And then you've got to know how to process it in the computer as well. And again, I'm not really doing that because, unless I'm doing a cover song, because I want people to hear the actual original recording, so they can also then EQ it themselves if they wish to. Gary says, I had the Venue DI. The tuner is slow and sucks compared to any of the Polytunes, etc. I mean, I'm not going to say I would choose it over my Peterson, but I don't know. I have the Venue DI that I got last year when I got the Hi-Fi, and I think the tuner is better than it was when I tried the Venue DI 10 years ago. But even LR Bags told me they don't love or they've heard the tuner. I don't know. Don't let me put words in their mouth. They've implied that the tuner isn't that great, but I was able to tune with it when I used it a few months ago just fine. But I think I did something like I played the harmonic of each string on the 12th fret rather than the open string. But no, I mean, nothing will ever compare to the Peterson tuners. They are the best. I just see that as a nice optional extra. But I don't know. I need to pull it out and try it again because I just have a feeling last time I tried it, I didn't hate that tuner. It was fine. But I also remember using it 10 years ago and really hating it, like you're saying. So I don't know. I don't know if they changed something or I don't know. But it's not a strobe. Long story short, it's not a strobe tuner, and I swear by strobe tuners anyway. So I wouldn't probably use the tuner in it unless it was a backup. So the SM57 is the industry standard mic. Not too expensive, sounds expensive. Yes, I agree. The tuners on DIs usually suck. Yeah, I mean, the one on the Fishman isn't amazing either. They're more just there for utility. I mean, look, at the end of the day, a built-in tuner is rarely going to be as good as a dedicated stage tuner. You know, the dedicated Peterson pedal is always going to blow away any tuner that's included in the pedal. I might say that's not true with some of the bigger ones, like the Line 6 Helix has a strobe mode. It's not a true strobe, but it is very good. That should be a good video to compare all these tuners. But yeah, I use the tuner in the Voice Live 3 Extreme. That's pretty nasty looking, but it works. I never feel like I'm out of tune. I tune a lot during the gig, but I don't feel like I'm actually out of tune because of the tuner. So I take it back. Some built-in tuners can be absolutely fine, but if I ever had the choice, I'd always go for a dedicated Peterson pedal tuner if I had the choice. Point the mic where the neck meets the body. Yeah, that's what I tend to do. I just did a video. People said that the bass was too much on the guitar, but I didn't EQ anything, and no one records an acoustic guitar for to broadcast and not add any EQ. Many people add EQ on the as they record it on the way in, you know, with like the external devices. The Bix has a studio quality DI output where the XLR output goes through a very high quality transformer. Yes, that's where your money's going, on the quality of the components. But like I was saying, what if you then plug that into a cheap mixing console that doesn't have high quality components? At that point, is it better just to go straight into that console? I don't know. The whole chain is important here, not just one part, you know. And Gary has the Empress Para DI for tone shape. Okay, so again, I said the notch is important to me. Gary has a notch on another pedal, an EQ. It doesn't matter. He wants it more as a DI with an effects loop built in. Rusty says, I do have a session DI. I don't play out just at home. Okay, so a lot of people have the session DI. I need to dig that out. I have a preamp, looper, reverb, and a TC tuner pedal. How do you properly arrange the pedals in sequence? Well, you would want to go tuner. You want the tuner first because you want it to hear that note without anything in the way. So the first thing it wants to hear is the tuner, so you get the most accurate reading from the tuner. Then I'd probably go into the preamp after that. Some preamps have a tuner output you could plug it into, but if not, I'd then go into the preamp. Then I would go into the reverb and then the looper. And the reason is I want the looper to record the reverb going in. If you put the reverb after the looper, it won't record the reverb. Honestly, I've been telling people this as well lately. I would just buy a TC Helicon. I'm not being funny. I'd buy a TC Helicon Play Acoustic because that has a preamp, a tuner, a reverb, a looper, and a load of other stuff in one lightweight pedal. And you haven't got to worry about patching together or anything like that. S1 Pro doesn't have as much headroom if you play in loud places, and S1 Pro is more ideal for quiet restaurants and similar venues. Yeah, like I said, I replied to your thread last night. It's It's 150 watts. 150 watts is never going to fill a loud room. It may be a big room if it had good acoustics and everyone's sitting there listening. But it's not 150 watts is not enough. My K8.2 QSC speaker is 2,000 watts for contrast, right? And that will do any gig, but I often run that halfway up, and when I play outside, I run it at maximum, but I can still get away with doing a whole outside massive venue with hundreds of people with that one. It's not ideal, but I can get away with it. It's fine. It works absolutely fine at maximum volume. It's very hot at the end and it's maximum volume. But my point is that's the biggest gig I do. And so I can do that all the way down, Remember, when you play outside, you're losing a lot of that volume when you play outside. That's not reflecting off anything. So when you compare that to 150 watt, it's never going to be enough. I wish they'd make a more powerful S1 Pro, but then it wouldn't be as light. And people want those for the lightweight. Sam, I have a preamp. Oh, we didn't want. I think the EV is louder. I like the eVerse 8. The eVerse 8 is kind of in the middle. And that's the one that I've been using lately for bars. Anyone here playing a worship team? I do not. I did play in a church band last year a little bit. But that was playing like modern pop songs. That was fun. I do so many solo gigs. It's nice to get out and jam any chance I get. It just doesn't happen so much these days. But the worship thing is interesting as well because they're using very different effects. They're using a lot more delays, a lot more reverbs, often using in-ear monitors. Well, actually, I use in-ear monitors as well, but it's a different sort of approach to say playing in the bar and just like thrashing out with tube amps and stuff. Aries, how's your setup right now? Right now, Cole Clark into TC Helicon Voice Live 3 Extreme into House PA or QSC K8.2 or eVerse 8 or S1 Pro Plus, depending on the room, how much stuff I got to take with me on the train, and in-ear monitors. The Ella Bags Parody has a notch. Yep. I really, really want to have a notch EQ with me at all times. It's a lifesaver. Chris plays in 2 churches every week. That's cool. And so it's a bit of a stereotype to say, are you using in-ear monitors? I'm sure not all churches use in-ear monitors, but I know many of them do from what I read online. And I like using in-ear monitors in my gigs too. I compare the AER with the EV, still prefer the AER for guitar and vocals. I never liked the AER for vocals, but that's also dependent on your voice. For my voice, I never liked the AER. But for guitar, it's very good. It's very punchy sounding. But see, again, I used to gig with an AER, and it wasn't ideal for gigging with. It's more of a good thing to have as an optional extra. I wish back then I'd had something like the eVerse 8 or similar, or even, well, actually, you see, I had the AER that weighed like 22 pounds, the XL, and for that, I could have had one of those QSC CP8s that weighs the same, but that didn't exist back then. And I still prefer the K8.2, but that's 30 pounds. So for me, I have to factor in so much the weight of all this gear because I'm taking public transport a lot. To anyone with a car, that doesn't matter, and that shouldn't factor in as long as you're not breaking your back carrying stuff around. Chris says, I run my acoustic through the Headrush gig board straight to the soundboard in church. They updated the software adding an acoustic preamp, which is model on the Fishman. Great. Which wireless are you using to the guitar? Nothing right now because I use in-ears. I have to use a combined cable to send the in-ear mix and the guitar mix, and I'm not running around a stage, so I don't bother with it. If I do need to go wireless, I do have the newest Shure wireless system I could use, but I just never need to. And I don't want to risk any problems or having to charge stuff up right now. Sam, I'm pretty sure the Bose S1 Pro Plus should sound great in a room that can accommodate 50 people. Yeah, well, you say that, but what kind of room? Not being difficult here. Like, there's rooms and there's rooms, right? Like a living room with 50 people, yes, great. But a massive church hall or a massive hall 50 people, maybe not. Or outside 50 people, no way. And again, not being funny, but outside 50 people talking, no way. In my living room, 50 people in there not talking, yes. So I'm not being difficult. Just remember, it's not just about the number of people. It's also about everything. It's everything. And also, what are you putting through it? If think about it, if you're just singing through it, you've got more headroom because you're only got your voice going through it. If you're singing through it and playing guitar through it and running tracks through it, you're going to have less headroom as well. So there's a lot more factors. But I'm just trying to be difficult and explain all that. I mean, yes, 50, I'd say up to 50 people in a normal room where there's not crazy background noise. Yes. I originally heard the S1 Pro at NAMM in 2020, and it filled the foyer. I mean, that was a big cavernous room, lots of people, lots of noise, and it really sounded amazing. But that was just because, the way it was reflecting off the walls and that at that time. I'm not going to say that means it can fill a room like that. It was just based on how that room was at that time. The reality is, if you're in a noisy bar, it's going to struggle. A noisy bar with 100 people drinking and singing along, it's not going to keep up. How about a Shure KSM 137? I haven't tried that one. But I mean, I've tried a lot of microphones and there's a million different ones. But just remember, it's not the microphone. It's also how you position the microphone and how you treat the microphone in post when you're done in the software. Chris says United Twin 87 mic. Again, I haven't tried that one. Sam also realized that some tuner pedals come with a buffer, such as Pytune. What's that? So some pedals have a buffer. Some pedals, this has been the pedal show. Some pedals are true bypass, meaning that it sends a signal straight through and doesn't affect your tone. Some pedals have a buffer, meaning they buffer the signal. You tend to need some kind of buffer, because if you have a million pedals, you lose signal through the cable if they're all true bypass. So many people rush out and say, I must have all true bypass pedals, so my tone is not affected when they're not turned on. Well, turns out you need a buffer in there somewhere. And one problem with tuner pedals that don't have a buffer is that they'll pop. Like when you turn it on, it'll make a pop sound. And when you turn it off, have you ever had a pedal like that where it pops? That's because there is no buffer. So you get that popping sound. And I hate that with a vengeance. And some pedals let you turn the buffer on and off. So you have the signal can be buffered or true bypass. So that really depends on what else you have. Let's say you have 10 pedals, you might want to have the first one buffered, like the tuner, and the rest true bypass, because the first one is buffering the signal. You don't need them all to be buffered. Some of that is also just trying it out and seeing how the sound is different, how it affects the sound. But certainly I don't want it to be true bypass if it's going to make a pop sound through the PA system. What does a notch exactly do? Heard it a lot in the life. So it's notching out that feedback frequency. It's an extremely narrow band. All right. So it'll basically only take out that frequency. Because what you don't want to do, let's say, so a notch is the opposite of a big wide EQ curve, right? Say you're sweeping through to find the note that's feeding back. The note that's feeding back is here. And you're notching, you're sweeping through with this wide of a curve. They call it a Q. So this is a wide Q. Let's say you're looking for that sound. Well, anywhere here is going to take it out, right? Let's say my nose is that feedback. Anywhere, like that's going to take it out there. It's also going to take out all those other frequencies as well, right? But if you have a notch, basically what that means is it's the same thing. This is the wide Q I just showed you. You bring that Q narrow, turn that Q down all the way. You end up with a Q like this. So it will still take out, this is a really interesting analogy, but it seems to be working. It will still take out that frequency, but it won't take out any of the other frequencies. All right. So now I can scan through with that notch EQ. And there we go. It's taken out my nose. It's taken out that feedback, but it hasn't taken out anything else from around here. Whereas if you had a 3-band EQ on a pedal that was all preset and they happen to set that like this, then it's taken out the frequency and all the other stuff, frequency and all the other stuff, frequency, all the other stuff, all that. That's the difference. Now, sometimes you want that because you want to cut out a load of mid-range and can cut out all those frequencies. Some pedals let you adjust all that stuff yourself, so you can choose whether it's a notch or a wideband EQ. But basically, notch implies that it's just taking out that frequency and not messing up the rest of your tone. And LR Bags actually say that their notch on the pedal we looked at earlier also slightly boosts the surrounding frequencies, because the problem with the notch is it can create a weird sound. It can, some people say it can create phasing issues. Some people say that it can sound weird because it's, you know, slicing out part of the tone, right? So Bags slightly boost the two surrounding frequencies to trick the ear into not hearing that happening. As far as I'm aware, I've said it right. I may be wrong, but they're definitely doing something. They're not just cutting the frequency; they're also making up for what they're doing around it. So they tell me. I play small gigs with the AER. The EV would be my second option. Yeah, or use both. For a small room, use the AER for everything, and a larger room, run it into the EV as a secondary source. Sometimes modular is the way to go, right? It's not like you should just have a S1 Pro Plus, or you should just have a 2000 watt PA system. Sometimes it's good to have both. And if you're going to do a kids party, you take the Bose S1 Pro Plus. It's ideal for that, and it's all very clean. There's no wires for kids to trip over. If you're playing a massive wedding in a hall, then you take the PA system. Well, in fact, at that point, you take both, because you might have that as a backup. We all need backups. The S1 Pro Plus at that point can be your backup, or if they say we need sound for the wedding ceremony, you can hire that to them for an additional charge. And I've got a funny story about that I'll never tell you, because it was really awkward and embarrassing. It wasn't my fault, but that was a day where that could have really saved that situation from happening. So just to give you some context. Like an indoor classroom setting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you were teaching 30 people in a classroom, the S1 Pro Plus is at that point it's overkill. All this stuff is always like how long is a piece of string, right? It's always what it comes down to. Been using the SE V7 for live vocals. Great price. I'm still using the Sennheiser 935 or 945 or no 935. I'm still using the 935. Johnny, how you doing? Good to see you. Sam says, great explanation and analogy. Thank you so much for this informative session. I'm sure others feel the same. I hope so, Sam, because I'm exhausted from this. I feel like I've been lecturing at music school all day, in a good way. I just, there's so much information, random information in this live stream. I feel like there should have been 10 different YouTube videos. You know, what is notch EQ? What is EQ? What is a preamp? What's the difference between active and passive pickups? I just feel like I've done like 10 videos in one today. Yes, the AER is 60 watts. But, you know, 60 watts to 150 watts it's not like it's double. It's not a massive difference in reality. But 60 watts versus 450 and 60 watts versus 2000, then there's a massive difference. And it still depends on how loud the room is you're using it in as well. I'm also trying to know more about phase, like the one in the Anthem pickup. I mean, phase, really, you just choose the one that sounds the best to you. And if you're getting feedback before you notch, the first thing you do is you press the phase button. It might get rid of the feedback. If it doesn't, then you find the phase that sounds the best to you. One will have more bass, perceived bass than the other, and then you notch out the feedback. Louder than the EV. I wouldn't say the AER is louder than the Everse 8 in my experience, but it's been a long time since I had an AER. But the Everse 8 is also around 400 watts, which is really good for the weight. All right, I'm exhausted. I had a great time, but it's been almost 2 hours. I'm really, my voice is worn out, and I want to try and edit another video for tonight. So this has been awesome. I'll just say again, if you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. Hey, actually, if you're not new here, just make sure when you click, X out the chat, make sure it says on here that you are subscribed to my channel on your device and turn on notifications. Please do me a favor. I posted a video today of Martin at NAMM Can you go and watch that for me? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that link in here right now and ask you to go and watch that for me right away. That'd be awesome. It's only had 100 views. So if you want to do me a favor, go and watch that video. Make sure you're subscribed. Tell some friends about me. And I look forward to seeing you in a video this week. And if not, next week's live stream. Please remember, we're going to have special streams on Wednesday, 21st and 28th. Please put those on your calendar. I'll let you know the times next week. 21st and 28th, live Q&A with guitar builders, electric and acoustic. Awesome. Today was a great session. Thank you, Gary. I agree. I really enjoyed it. And I feel like you asked exactly the questions that I know about, which is amazing. So yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I look forward to seeing you soon. Watch some of my videos. Make sure you're subscribed. And please share this with some friends. Thank you to Rosanna and Lee for moderating. I'm really happy to see we didn't need you to do any moderating this week. I can't say we didn't need you, but we didn't need you to eject anyone. That's always a good thing. But it's great having knowing you guys are there as well, because sometimes I'm talking and I can't be watching the chat at the same time. Yeah, so I need to wrap it up. I'll see you again soon. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.
I'm not lost, but I'm not found. I'm not up, but I'm not down.